The neutral zone cruiser Starline Whisper moved through space with its usual calm hum, carrying diplomats from different worlds, scientists on research trips, and a handful of ordinary travelers. Hidden among all these important figures was a young human mechanic named Jalen Ward, someone who never expected to be noticed by anyone beyond the maintenance deck. He preferred to stay out of the way, fixing whatever the ship needed, checking failures in old circuits, and keeping everything running smoothly. His world rarely went beyond tools, wires, and the comforting smell of machine oil. Humans had a reputation across the galaxy for their unpredictable nature. Some species admired it, some feared it, and some thought it was chaotic nonsense. Jalen didn't care much about that. He just wanted to finish his work peacefully. Everything changed on the day the Starline Whisper welcomed a small delegation from the Zalari Dominion. The Zalari were tall, elegant, and known everywhere for their extreme emotional control. From childhood, they trained to suppress feelings, maintain steady breath, and avoid any strong emotional reaction. They believed emotions were storms that could destroy logic. Their entire culture revolved around balance, discipline, and restraint. And leading this delegation was Princess Melira, daughter of the Zalari Empress. She was famous across several systems, highly trained, perfectly disciplined, and respected by many species. Her presence demanded silence wherever she went. Jalen did not plan to meet her. He was only repairing a malfunctioning door panel in the main hall, trying to finish quickly before the princess arrived. But the panel kept misbehaving. First, it flickered, then it sparked. On the third test, Jalen pressed his tool down a little harder than needed, and the panel responded by releasing a small burst of static energy. Nothing dangerous, only an accidental shockwave. It traveled across the hall like a quiet pulse. Jalen flinched. He expected a scolding from security, but instead, he heard a sharp breath behind him. Princess Melira had just stepped into the hall with her guards. She stopped walking, her usually still expression breaking for a single instant. Her eyes widened. Her breath trembled. Her hand touched her wrist as if checking something inside her. Her guards immediately stiffened. One even reached for his weapon. Jalen stared helplessly with a tool in his hand. Sorry. I didn't mean," but Melira did not let him finish. She walked toward him, slowly, like someone examining a rare phenomenon. Her silver blue eyes did not blink as she observed him. All her training, all her famous discipline, seemed to struggle against something she could not explain. The ship's captain hurried forward, bowing slightly, trying to calm the situation. "Princess, forgive the disturbance. It was only a faulty panel." Melira raised a hand to silence him. Her focus stayed on Jalen. "That energy," she said softly. "What was it?" Jalen swallowed nervously. "Static. It was just static." "Static does not affect Zalari senses," she replied, her voice steady yet unusually warm. "What I felt was something else." The princess stepped closer, closer than any Zalari would normally approach a stranger. Her gaze traveled from Jalen's face to his hands, then to the still glowing panel behind him. "You didn't do anything intentionally," she said, almost to herself. "That is what confuses me." Jalen had no idea what to say. "Princess, I really didn't mean." "I know," she whispered. "That is why I must understand it." The Zalari delegation exchanged worried looks. They knew their princess well. She never reacted emotionally. Never. Not even during galactic crises. Something was wrong, and none of them understood it. After a long, tense moment, Melira stepped back. "Human," she said. "I will speak with you later." Jalen blinked. "Me?" She nodded with calm determination. "You." Every crew member who heard that either froze or pretended to busy themselves. A Zalari princess asking to speak to a human mechanic privately? It sounded impossible. It sounded dangerous. It sounded like trouble. The princess and her guards left the hall, their steps stiff and uneasy. The captain turned to Jalen with an exhausted sigh. "Son, what did you just do?" I don't know," Jalen protested. "I touched a panel and it broke, and then she looked at me like I triggered something." The captain's face paled. Don't use that word. The Zilari have legends about something called a trigger. It's old, rare, and nobody understands it. If you caused anything like that. He didn't finish the sentence. Nobody had to. Jalen returned to the maintenance deck trying to avoid attention, but everyone suddenly wanted to look at him. Humans, aliens, crew members, everyone whispered his name. A few Zilari tried to quietly analyze him from a distance, as if expecting lightning to come out of his fingers. By evening, Jalen hid in the engine bay, hoping the machines would drown out the talk. That's when Kryn, a small lizard-like alien coworker, approached him. "You're in trouble," Kryn said matter-of-factly. "That seems to be the theme today." Jalen muttered. "Princess Malira asked for your personal file." Jalen froze. "Why would she do that?" Kryn tapped his claws together. "Do you know what a Zilari emotional trigger is?" "No." "Good. Then you can panic with a clear mind." Kryn cleared his throat dramatically. A trigger is when a Zilari's emotional center reacts to someone. Not just normal reaction. Something deep. Something ancient. Something instinctive. Jalen felt his heartbeat spike. "You can't be serious." "Very serious," Kryn insisted. If the static burst really hit her emotional center, she may have felt something she hasn't felt in her entire life. Jalen stared at the floor. "Like what?" Kryn leaned in. "Attraction." Jalen nearly dropped the tool in his hand. "What?" "Oh, relax," Kryn said. "Zilari attraction is not like human attraction. It's more like a gravitational pull. They feel connected to the source. They want to understand the person. Get close to them. Study them. Protect them. Technically, it's harmless. Usually." "Usually?" Jalen asked. Kryn hesitated. "Well, the ancient texts call it the pleasure trigger." Jalen blinked. "Please explain." Kryn shrugged. "Nobody knows what the word originally meant, but it suggests humans might emit an emotional frequency that awakens dormant circuits in Zilari brains." Jalen stared at him as if the whole galaxy had stopped making sense. "So I accidentally awakened something in her?" Kryn nodded. "Yes. Something rare. Something dangerous. Something her people believed was only a story." Before Jalen could wrap his mind around that, the door slid open. A tall Zilari guard stepped inside. Human Jalen Ward. "The princess requests you," Kryn whispered. "Good luck surviving," Jalen whispered back. "You're terrible at comfort." He followed the guard through quiet hallways until they reached a private observation chamber. The lights were dim. Stars floated beyond the huge windows, and Princess Malira stood alone, arms folded behind her. Her expression calm, but her posture tight. When she turned toward him, her face held the same calm shape. Yet something had changed. Her eyes were too focused, too warm, too curious. "Thank you for coming, human Jalen," she said softly. "It wasn't like I had a choice," he whispered before mentally kicking himself. She almost smiled. Almost. For a Zilari, that tiny twitch of her lips was equal to laughing out loud. "I wish to speak without an audience," she said. "What happened today was not normal for my kind." Jalen swallowed. "I didn't mean to affect you. I know," she said, stepping a little closer. "That is why I am disturbed. My entire life has been dedicated to control. But the moment your energy touched me, my heart changed its rhythm." Jalen blinked. "Your heart?" "Yes." Her voice softened. "I felt something move inside me. Something warm. Something unfamiliar." He didn't know what to say. "And it frightens me," she continued quietly. "Because Zilari do not feel sudden changes. We are trained to prevent them." Jalen nodded slowly. "So, what do you think happened?" "This is what I need to understand," she said. "Humans carry emotional frequencies that other species find unpredictable. But this was more than unpredictability. This was like my entire emotional field reacted to you. Humans," her eyes fixed on his, "you awakened something. Something I cannot name. Jalen's breath caught. Princess, I'm just a mechanic. She shook her head. No. My senses do not lie. Whatever awakened inside me recognizes something in you. She stepped even closer, close enough that Jalen could feel her calm breath. Humans, she said, have a power my people fear. They call it the trigger. And today, it chose you. Jalen's pulse thudded in his ears. Princess, what does that mean for you? She hesitated just one heartbeat, and that tiny hesitation betrayed the truth she was trying to hide. It means, she whispered, that I am being pulled toward you. The room fell silent. Neither moved. Neither breathed. Outside, the stars drifted quietly, unaware that two beings from distant worlds had just crossed a line neither species fully understood. Something ancient had awakened, and neither of them could turn it back. The room stayed silent long after Princess Melira spoke those unsettling words. Jalen felt as if the air had thickened around him, making it hard to breathe. He had never been close to royalty before, and certainly never to a Zalari princess who claimed to feel drawn to him. The idea felt unreal, almost like he had stepped into someone else's life by mistake. Melira seemed aware of his confusion. She kept her voice low, steady, almost gentle, in a way that seemed impossible for a Zalari. Do not be afraid of me, she said. I will not harm you. My people are strict, but we are not cruel. I'm not afraid of you, Jalen said quietly. I'm just confused. That makes two of us, she replied. She moved closer to the wide viewing window. The soft glow from distant stars outlined the shape of her face, making her seem more human than alien for a moment. She placed her palm against the glass. Her reflection stared back at her without its usual calm strength. Instead, it carried a hint of uncertainty. This feeling inside me is new, she admitted. It is powerful, and it refuses to fade. I have spent hours trying to center myself, but every time I close my eyes, the first thing I feel is you. Jalen nearly choked. Princess, I swear I didn't do anything. I know. She looked at him again. That is what makes this so important. If you had done something intentionally, I would know how to respond. But this, your presence alone, was enough. Jalen ran a hand through his hair. He wasn't handsome, not in any unique way. He wasn't special or talented or powerful. He was a mechanic who worked on stubborn door panels and broken coolant pumps. How could a princess, especially one from a species with emotional shields stronger than steel, be affected by him? What do Zalari usually do in situations like this? Jalen asked cautiously. We do not have situations like this, she answered simply. Our training is designed to prevent emotional triggering. So this never happens? Almost never, she corrected. There are old stories of it happening centuries ago. But the Empress herself has never experienced such a thing. Even she has only heard rumors. So now you feel something that your people believed didn't happen anymore? Melira nodded. Yes. Jalen rubbed his temples. Why me? That is what terrifies me, she whispered. For a long moment, Melira simply watched him, studying his expression, the way he breathed, even the tiny movements of his hands. Her eyes softened whenever he shifted, as if her instincts reacted before her training could suppress them. You do not know what this means for me, she finally said. If my guard, or the diplomats learn the truth, they will try to separate us. Because they're afraid of this trigger thing? He asked. They fear anything they cannot control. If a Zalari's emotional core bonds to someone, it becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability is unacceptable for my people. Jalen frowned. That doesn't sound fair. It is how our society survives, Melira said with a sad smile. Our ancestors destroyed half a continent because they allowed emotion to rule over logic. That history shaped us. We built our culture on restraint. But you didn't destroy a continent, Jalen said. You are not your ancestors. Her eyes widened slightly, as if his words struck something deep inside her. It was the first time anyone had spoken to her without fear, without formality. without treating her like a symbol instead of a person. You speak very simply, she said softly, yet your words feel heavier than you know. Before he could respond, the door chimed. Melira straightened immediately. The disciplined posture returned to her body like a shield snapping into place. In one motion, she masked her inner storm and became Princess Melira again, the calm, commanding figure everyone expected. Enter, she said. 2 Zalari guards stepped inside. Their faces were unreadable, but the air around them felt tense. Princess, the first guard said, bowing slightly. The diplomatic meeting is starting. They request your presence. I will attend shortly, Melira replied. The guard nodded, but his eyes shifted toward Jalen. His expression tightened, as if he wanted to question why a mechanic stood alone with their princess in a private chamber. But Melira's quiet authority prevented him from speaking. When the guards left, Melira turned back to Jalen. You should go for now, she said quietly. Are you okay? He asked. Her eyes lingered on him a moment longer than they should. No, she admitted. But I must pretend I am. She took one step toward him. Jalen felt his throat tighten. For a moment, it seemed like she wanted to touch his hand or trace the spark that had reacted inside her earlier. But she held herself back. If this trigger is real, she whispered, it will not go away. Jalen didn't know how to respond. Melira gave a final nod and left the chamber, her steps firm but her breath uneven. Jalen stood alone for a minute, trying to understand what had just happened. A princess drawn to him. A cultural taboo waking inside her. A mysterious energy linking them together. None of it made sense. He finally left the chamber and walked back to the maintenance deck in silence. When he arrived, Kryn ran to him with wide eyes. What did she say? Are we dead? Are they mad? Are we getting kicked off the ship? Jalen dropped onto a metal crate. Kryn, she said, she feels something she can't control. Something that connects her to me. Kryn's scales flickered with worry. And that doesn't scare you? It does, Jalen admitted. But it scares her more. Kryn began pacing wildly. We are in so much trouble. If the Zalari Council learns their princess is emotional imprinted on a human mechanic, they will lose their minds. Humans already confuse them. But this is their nightmare. Jalen let out a long breath. I didn't ask for this. I know. Kryn paused. But if she truly triggered, she can't ignore you. And you can't avoid her. She'll keep coming back. Jalen leaned his elbows on his knees. What do Zalari do when someone triggers them? Kryn hesitated. I don't know. They never talk about it. It's too taboo. Too dangerous. Jalen stared at the floor. Kryn might be right. This was bigger than him. Bigger than both of them. Later that night, sleep refused to come. Every time Jalen closed his eyes, he saw Melira's expression calm on the outside, trembling on the inside. He saw fear in her voice when she confessed she couldn't control the pull she felt. He saw the way she stepped closer, as if gravity itself wanted to bring them together. He knew she was struggling with something huge, and he didn't know how to help her. Morning on the ship arrived quietly, though the artificial lights made it feel like any normal day. Jalen forced himself back to work, but his hands kept shaking. Every sound made him turn his head, expecting to see a silver-eyed princess standing behind him. She didn't come. Not at first. Hours passed. More passengers boarded. Maintenance requests piled up. Then, during a quiet moment in the storage bay, the door opened. Melira stepped inside, but she didn't walk like a princess this time. She walked like someone who needed answers. Someone desperate to understand the storm inside her. Human Jalen, she said softly. He put down his tools slowly. Princess, please. Just call me Melira. Jalen blinked. Are you sure? Yes. Formality only creates distance, and distance makes this harder. She stepped closer. Her hands were clasped tightly together, a clear sign of struggle. I tried to meditate for hours, she confessed. I tried everything. Breathing rituals, mind-centering exercises, philosophical recitations. Nothing worked. Jalen swallowed. Nothing? When I close my eyes, she whispered. The sensation of your presence becomes stronger. It is like my emotions recognize something in you. He didn't move. And today, she continued, when I heard your voice echo faintly through the ship corridors, my heart reacted again. Heart. Jalen's breath caught. My voice? Yes, she said, her eyes lowering. It calmed me. And frightened me. Jalen approached her carefully. Princess Melira, whatever this is, you don't have to deal with it alone. Jalen. Jalen approached her carefully. Jalen approached her carefully. Jalen approached her carefully alone, her eyes lifted toward him. The calm mask cracked just a little. That, she said softly, is exactly what scares me. I am not supposed to want closeness. I am trained to avoid it. And yet, I find myself seeking it from you. There it was spoken clearly for the first time. The trigger wasn't just a reaction. It was a pull, a connection, a desire for closeness that no Zalari should feel. Melira's voice trembled. And the more I fight it, the stronger it becomes. Jalen slowly extended his hand. Hesitant. Unsure. But sincere. She stared at his hand as if it was both the answer and the question she had been fearing. After a long moment, she placed her hand in his. Her breath shuddered. Something warm rippled between them, quiet, invisible, ancient. Melira whispered. There. That feeling. That impossible feeling. It's happening again. All. Jalen looked into her eyes, seeing fear, hope, confusion, and something deeper, something undeniable. I'm here, he said softly. We'll figure this out together. Melira exhaled shakily. Together? Yes. I think. That is the only way now. The door to the bay slid shut behind them. Neither noticed the small surveillance node blinking silently above, recording everything. Someone else knew. Someone else had seen the trigger, and they would not let it continue quietly. The tiny surveillance node blinked in silence, unseen by both Jalen and Melira. But the ship's security system was never blind. Somebody, somewhere in the upper decks, paused the footage and leaned closer to the screen, studying the moment when the Zalari princess placed her hand in the human's. A slow alarm rose inside the observer's mind. No one dared interfere with a Zalari princess unless the safety of the ship or its passengers was at risk. And what they saw looked exactly like something dangerous, even if neither Jalen nor Melira knew it yet. Meanwhile, in the storage bay, Melira held Jalen's hand with a grip that trembled lightly, a sign she had never shown another being. She was fighting something inside her: fear, confusion, instinct, something older than logic and deeper than training. Her breathing was unsteady, yet she did not pull her hand away. Jalen stood still, trying to understand the strange, warm pulse between their palms. He didn't know exactly what the trigger meant, but he knew the princess was scared, and he could see it in her silver blue eyes. It's okay, he murmured. You're safe. Safe. She repeated quietly, as if the word was foreign. I do not know how to feel safe. My entire life is discipline. But this feeling, I cannot control it. Jalen squeezed her hand gently. She inhaled sharply, as if that simple action had affected her far more than it should have. I don't want to cause trouble for you, he said. You are not causing trouble, she replied, but her tone was uncertain. My emotions are the ones creating chaos. And chaos is forbidden for Zalari. Jalen looked at her closely. Do your people punish someone for having feelings? She shook her head. Not feelings. Loss of control. A princess must be perfect. A single mistake can create diplomatic storms. He frowned. Then why come to me? Won't this make things harder? Melira hesitated. That hesitation alone was a confession. I came because being away from you felt worse, she said. When I tried to meditate, my mind returned to you. When I sat at the meeting table, I felt your presence echo through the hall. And when I heard your voice earlier, I felt something settle inside me, only for it to shake again when you disappeared. Jalen blinked. You can sense me? Yes, she whispered. It is strange. It feels like the bond keeps pulling at me, and I cannot ignore it. Before he could respond, the bay door slid open with a sudden hiss. Both of them turned. Standing there was Captain Rennell, eyes sharp, face stiff, hands clasped behind his back like a man preparing for bad news. Princess Maelira, he said carefully. Human Jalen, I need to speak with you both. Maelira straightened instantly, slipping her hand away from Jalen's. Though her fingers resisted for a second longer than they should have, her expression returned to its calm mask. But Jalen saw the tension in her shoulders. Captain, she greeted. Is something wrong? The captain stepped inside and closed the door behind him. I received a message from the upper deck. Someone accessed private footage from this area. Footage including you two. Maelira froze. The calm mask cracked just enough for Jalen to notice. Who accessed it? She asked. We don't know yet, Rennell replied. But whoever it was, reported it to the diplomatic monitors. Maelira's jaw tightened. Diplomatic monitors? That means, yes, Rennell said. The Zalari delegation might know. Jalen felt his stomach twist. Know what? The captain looked at both of them with a heavy sigh. That you two have been meeting privately, and that there may be emotional irregularities. The room went silent. Maelira whispered, This is not good. The captain nodded. Princess, you know your people better than I do. If they believe you are emotionally compromised, what will happen? She closed her eyes. They will try to separate us immediately. They will isolate me until they believe the trigger has faded. And if it doesn't fade? Jalen asked. She opened her eyes slowly. They will claim I am unfit for diplomatic duty. They may even demand that you be removed from the ship. Removed? Jalen repeated. What does that mean? Maelira didn't answer. Her silence was enough. Jalen felt something heavy settle in his chest. Now everything made sense. The fear, the hesitation, the urgency in her voice when she said she wanted answers before someone interfered. The captain cleared his throat. For now, they only suspect something. They do not know for certain. But if the footage becomes public, the consequences could be severe. Maelira nodded. Then we must act quickly. Act how? Jalen asked. She turned to him with firm, determined eyes. I need to understand the trigger fully. I need to know what it is and why it connected to you. But how? There is an old recording, she said. A very old one. Passed through my family. It explains the history of the trigger. If the stories are true, it may tell us what to do. Jalen blinked. So there were humans involved before? Yes. Long ago. Before the Dominion formed. The legends say humans awakened a forgotten part of our biology. Something my people have feared ever since. The captain raised an eyebrow. Where is this recording? In my private quarters, she said. I hid it from the delegation. They would destroy it if they found it. Jalen looked between them. So what now? Maelira's calm finally cracked completely. Fear flickered across her face, but determination covered it quickly. We must go to my quarters before they decide to escort me there themselves. If they reach it first, we lose everything. The captain nodded slowly. I'll help you. But we must move carefully. If we rush, we draw attention. If we delay, they might get there before us. Maelira turned to Jalen. I need you by my side. The trigger responds to proximity. If the bond intensifies near the recording, it may help us understand its meaning. Jalen swallowed, unsure if he wanted the bond to intensify, but he nodded anyway. Then, let's go. The three of them left the bay quietly. Maelira walked ahead with calm but fast steps. Jalen kept close behind her, and the captain followed, checking every corner like a man expecting trouble. The hallways of the ship felt different now, too quiet, too tense. Every distant footstep sounded like an approaching threat. Every shadow looked like a guard watching them. As they passed through a dim corridor, Maelira slowed suddenly. Jalen almost bumped into her. Two Zalari guards stood at the far end, speaking in low voices. One of them held a datapad, The screen displayed a paused image of Melira and Jalen holding hands. Jalen froze. Melira's breath tightened. The guard whispered, "The council wants immediate clarification. If this is truly a trigger, we must contain the situation." "Contain," the other repeated. "But the princess is unpredictable in a triggered state. We must act carefully." Melira turned toward Jalen, her eyes wide with alarm. "They know," she whispered. "They know." "What do we do?" Jalen whispered back. She looked at the captain. "We need another route." Rennell nodded quickly and gestured toward a side corridor. "This way." "Hurry." They moved quietly but quickly, turning down narrow maintenance passages instead of public halls. The lights flickered. Pipes hummed. The space smelled of heated metal and coolant familiar to Jalen, foreign to Melira. As they walked, Melira suddenly pressed a hand against the wall to steady herself. Jalen rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" Her voice trembled. "The trigger is reacting. Being close to you makes it stronger." And the fear from the guard's words, it amplified everything. He held her shoulders gently. "Breathe. Just breathe." She closed her eyes, following his words. Her breathing steadied slowly. "You calm me," she whispered. "Every time. Even now." Jalen felt heat rise in his chest. "I'm not doing anything special." "You are," she said. "You just don't realize it." The captain cleared his throat quietly. "We should move." They continued through the maintenance route until they reached a quiet section of the ship near officer quarters. Melira stopped in front of a door with a Zalari symbol engraved into it. "My quarters," she said. Jalen nodded. "Let's go inside quickly." As the door opened, Melira stepped in first. The room was elegant, lined with silver patterns and soft glowing lights. A small case rested on a pedestal at the center, old, worn, and sealed. The princess approached it slowly. "That recording," she whispered, "contains the truth about the trigger. The truth my people fear." Jalen stepped beside her. "Then let's open it." Melira touched the seal. The case glowed. A soft vibration filled the room. Jalen felt something warm pulse through his chest at the same moment Melira gasped. The bond reacted the instant the seal broke. Whatever they were about to learn had just awakened something inside both of them. Something deeper, something ancient, and someone outside the room activated the lockdown alarm. They were no longer alone. The lockdown alarm echoed through the halls like a metallic heartbeat. Red strips of emergency light pulsed along the ceiling, turning Princess Melira's elegant room into a place of shadows and danger. Jalen's pulse jumped immediately, but Melira reacted faster. Her fingers tightened around the seal of the ancient case, and her eyes narrowed with cold focus. "They found us," she whispered. Captain Rennell slammed a hand against the control panel near the door. "They activated a sector lockdown. That means Zalari security is moving toward this room right now." Jalen felt panic rise. "What happens if they get here?" "They will take me away," Melira said quietly. "They'll separate us and erase every chance we have to understand the trigger." "And me?" Jalen asked. Her expression softened with pain. "You will be removed from the situation. Possibly from the ship. My people will not risk the trigger continuing." Jalen swallowed hard. "We can't let that happen." "No," Melira agreed. "We cannot." The ancient case between them vibrated again. A small crack glowed along its surface, releasing a soft golden shimmer across her quarters. Melira touched Jalen's arm gently. "Help me open it fully. Whatever is inside may tell us what this bond means." Jalen nodded. "Let's do it." "Jalen." "Let's do it." The two of them lifted the lid. Warm light expanded inside the room like a slow sunrise. The case held a small device. Old, thin, made of silver plates, folded into a circular shape. When Melira touched it, the plates unfolded like petals. A glowing Zalari hologram sprang to life. It wasn't a diagram. It wasn't data. It was a person. The hologram showed a Zalari woman with long, shimmering hair and calm, wise eyes. Her expression was gentle, and her tone, even as she began to speak in an ancient dialect. One Melira understood instantly. "It is her," Melira breathed. "The first Empress." The hologram spoke slowly, her voice soft and worn, like someone leaving a message for a future generation they would never meet. "If you are watching this," the hologram said, "then the trigger has awakened again." Melira's breath caught. Jalen leaned closer, unable to understand the Zalari words. But reading the tension in Melira's face, the hologram continued. "Long ago, our people made a discovery that changed everything. We met humans for the first time. Their emotional frequency reacted with Zalari neural patterns. It awakened an instinct we believed lost, an instinct of connection, of bonding, of choosing," Melira whispered. "So it's true," the hologram explained further. "Humans do not know of this power. It is not intentional. It is a natural resonance between our species. Born from ancient biological similarities, the bond was called the pleasure trigger, not because of physical meaning, but because of the emotional harmony it created. Our ancestors feared it. They feared losing control. So they buried the truth." Melira's hands shook slightly. "They hid this from everyone." The hologram dimmed slightly as it reached its final message. "If the trigger appears again, do not fight it. Fighting only strengthens the pull. Instead, understand it together. Only unity stabilizes the resonance. But beware, others will try to separate you. They fear what they do not understand. Protect each other, or the bond may break, and breaking it causes great emotional harm to both sides." The device folded in on itself and faded. The warm light vanished. Silence filled the room. Jalen stared at Melira. "So the trigger isn't dangerous?" "It is dangerous only when forced apart," she whispered. "The first Empress said separation causes emotional damage. That is why my people feared it so much." "How bad is the damage?" Jalen asked. Melira lowered her gaze. "Some records mention mental collapse. Others mention overwhelming emotional storms. And some mention a permanent emptiness." Jalen felt a chill run down his spine. "So if they take you away, it will hurt both of us," she said softly, "more than either of us can imagine." Before he could respond, the door to her quarters shook violently. Someone tried to override the lock. "These doors won't hold forever," the captain warned. "Princess, you have to decide now. Do we hide? Do we run? Or do we face them?" Melira stepped back from the pedestal, her expression shifting from fear to fierce determination. "We run," she said. "We must escape the sector before they isolate us. Only then can we stabilize the trigger safely." Jalen straightened. "I'm with you." She looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and worry. "I know. And that makes this even harder." The door jolted again. "Move," Reynolds said, yanking them toward a side passage hidden behind the decorative wall plating. Melira pressed a control rune, and a narrow maintenance corridor opened. As they ran, the princess stumbled for half a second. Jalen caught her by the arm. "You okay?" he whispered. Her heartbeat raced. "The bond is reacting again. Fear makes it stronger." Jalen squeezed her hand without thinking. "You're not alone. I won't let them take you." A soft glow pulsed between their palms. Melira inhaled sharply. "There. That feeling. It stabilizes me." "Good," he said. "Stay close." The lockdown lights flashed red as they moved through the cramped maintenance tunnel. Distant footsteps echoed behind them, multiple guards. "They're spreading out," Reynolds muttered. "They're searching the entire deck." Melira looked ahead. "We must reach the observation ring. There is a secondary escape corridor there." Jalen frowned. "Observation ring? Isn't that the widest part of the ship? Open space. Windows, yes," she said. "It is also where Zalari's signals weaken due to old shielding plates. It gives us a chance to move without them pinpointing my location." They hurried through twisting metal corridors. The smell of heated circuits filled the air. Pipes hummed above their heads. Jalen was familiar with this maze, but Melira moved with surprising grace, trusting his directions and stepping precisely where he guided her. "When we get there," Jalen said. "What happens next?" Melira looked at him with a fragile honesty. We will try to stabilize the trigger. Together. You and I. And if we can't, her voice dropped to a whisper, then we cannot be separated. Ever. Jalen felt the weight of those words settle heavily inside him. She wasn't speaking as a princess now. She was speaking as someone caught in something overwhelming, something that bound them beyond choice. The tunnel opened into a circular observation ring. The stars spread across the giant windows like a sea of lights. The room was empty, too empty. Rennell froze. This is wrong. What? Jalen asked. Before he could finish, a voice echoed from the shadows. I knew you would come here, princess. 4 Zalari guards stepped into the ring, blocking the exit. At their center stood Advisor Rethan, a tall, stern Zalari diplomat with cold eyes. Melira stiffened. Rethan. Your Highness, Rethan replied. We've been searching everywhere. Your behavior today has caused great concern. I am not here for debate, she said. Move aside. We cannot, Rethan said calmly. You are compromised. The trigger has taken hold. Jalen stepped in front of her instinctively. Leave her alone, Rethan's gaze sharpened. And you. You are the source of this instability. Jalen clenched his fists. I didn't choose this. No, Rethan agreed. But you will be removed for her safety. Melira's eyes flared with alarm. Rethan, if you separate us, it is necessary. No, she snapped, shocking the guards. You do not understand the trigger. You do not understand the danger. I understand enough, Rethan said. Your emotions threaten the delegation, and this human is the cause. Rethan raised his hand. Seize him. 2 guards moved forward. Melira stepped in front of Jalen, her voice trembling with something between fear and fury. Touch him, and I will consider it an attack on the royal line. The guards froze. Even Rethan hesitated. Princess, you are not thinking clearly. No, she said. For the first time, I am. The air tightened. The tension rose. And then a soft glow pulsed between Jalen and Melira stronger than before. The guards stepped back instinctively. The glow expanded, creating a wave of warmth that filled the entire ring. It wasn't violent. It wasn't aggressive. It was simply powerful. What is happening? Jalen whispered. Melira's voice shook. The trigger. It's stabilizing. Because we are together. Rethan's eyes widened. Impossible. The glow brightened. Then, faded softly like a sigh. Melira stepped forward, her voice firm. You see now. Separating us will cause instability. Being together brings balance. Rethan said nothing. He could not deny what he saw. Melira took Jalen's hand. A simple gesture. Impossible for her people. Unthinkable. But real. And with the glow gone, only the truth remained. This bond, Melira said quietly, is not a threat. It is something my people should have embraced long ago. Rethan's stiff expression cracked with uncertainty. The first shift in the Zalari heart had begun, and Jalen realized this was only the beginning.